So we did ring in 2025 just yesterday, but since we didn't have a show, we are celebrating today with a little history lesson. We have a celebrity historian in the studio. He is here with the fun Fact or Fiction New Year's edition. Let's see if we can get it right.
Yeah. Since we didn't have a show yesterday, today we figured we'd play a little game called Fact or Fiction, the New Year's edition. Celebrity historian Raffi Andonian is here, back in the studio with us to play along and provide some knowledge about New Year's so we can brush up on our holiday history. Raffi, read a couple of statements, and Laura and I will you'll read the statements, Laura and I will decide if it's fact or fiction.
I'm starting the new year right. I want to start it on top as a king, you know.
Okay.
Just coming in like king style. Since we're going to talk about some ancients here, I figured it'd be very fitting, the right way to start the new year.
And you're doing that because I'm so old. I lived through most of that, so that's why I have a little advantage when going into this thing, right? Is that what
That's right. That's right. It's my subtle clue. All right, let's do number one.
Hit us.
New Year's Eve countdowns began during the atomic age thanks to the doomsday clock, Alfred Hitchcock, and rocket launches.
I'll say fact.
Fiction.
You have different answers, and that is a fact. You think about the doomsday clock, 1940 scientists in the atomic age.
Right.
They were worried about nuclear warfare. Actually, that group still exists. In the 1950s, an Alfred Hitchcock film called 4 O'Clock, which I've Googled and watched on YouTube. It is highly suspenseful, and there's a real suspenseful countdown. Clock down that's like counting down as he's, you know, as the main character is tied up down in the basement and an explosion is about to happen.
Oh, I remember that.
And then the rocket launches in the 1960s.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You got it, and that made it really loud, and 500 million people were watching for the Apollo to launch to the moon. So that's how countdowns came into our culture.
All right, so to recap, Kent won.
That's right.
Laura, nothing.
Got it.
0.
Next one. We're ready.
All right, thanks for coming in today, Raffi. Coming up next.
That's right. That's where we should end it, right there while you're up. Thomas Edison was so impressed by 100 bulbs of the New York ball drop, it drove him to create a new lighting system using 100 incandescent lamps that could operate for more than 100 hours. Let's give you some super energy here. Maybe that'll help you out.
I'm going to say fiction as well.
That one is, what's your answer, Kent?
I'll say fiction.
It is fiction. You know why?
Lights should go off.
Because Thomas Edison was doing bulbs 30 years before the ball drop began.
Yes.
And so, but it is true that he had 100 bulbs that lasted 100 hours. Within a year, he made it 600 hours. A lot of advance was going on, but it was prior to the ball drop of New York City. However, really interesting fact about New York City ball drop. Before it became Times Square, because New York Times moved to that plaza and renamed it Times Square, the owner did a bunch of fireworks, and the fireworks rained down on the city, so the cops said you can't do it anymore. That's how we went to the light bulbs as an alternative.
Safer. Makes sense.
All right.
All right, how about another one? The New Year's Eve ball drop was inspired by a system of balls and flagpoles at coastal observatories to aid ship navigation. So speaking of the ball drop.
I would say fact.
Yes.
How do you know that? You seem really confident.
Because I'm so smart when it comes to New Year's.
And that is a fact. So there was no standardized time for a long time. You would set your watch by the town clock. Time zones all over the place, difficult for trains and shipping. Well, in the 19th century, there's someone from the Royal Navy in England that comes up with a system of flagpoles and the ball dropping to be a system of signals so people on the ships can look to the coast and keep a consistent time. And those guys would keep some sort of standardized time with the telegraph. That's the beginning of a standardized time.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
All right, we got to do at least one more with the resolution.
Yeah, okay.
New Year's resolutions originate from raucous parties to move past mistakes and celebrate starting fresh with the promises to the gods to improve future conduct. Can't get out of New Year's without talking about resolutions. I even brought my vitamins. I want to be healthy this year.
You're going to take more vitamins this year? Is that your deal?
No, I'm seriously.
Pass.
Okay.
I'll lotion up while you guys are thinking through
all
this.
right. Wow.
What?
Look at
Your resolutions are very different.
I'm worried about aging each year. So that's why I got the lotion here. Yeah, of course.
But with the gods and stuff, that feels a bit much.
Yeah. What, you want to go with fiction?
Yeah.
Let's go fiction.
It is fiction, but the gods are involved. Oh. So in England, for example, in the Middle Ages and into the 18th century, you would have the 12 days of Christmas celebrated, so they'd still be going Christmas strong. They're partying, drinking, all kinds of stuff for 12 days straight. However, New Year's, you would not be doing that. On New Year's, there was a response to that saying, we got to take a break from that. One of the originators of the Methodist Church, for example, he started this covenant watch nights. And so that's when you would look back and reflect on what you've done wrong and look into the future, praying to God, but staying away from the ungodly acts of like drinking and gambling, all the crazy stuff. And that actually goes back a little bit further and go to ancient Babylon, ancient Romans. And I'll say real quick that the ancient Romans, is really interesting about them. Think about the term January. Janus, that's the ancient god that stands in doorways and arches. Romans are known for arches, often two-faced, looking backward and forward. So there you go, associating God again with reflecting and looking forward. But again, not the parties. They did plenty of parties, but not for New Year's. Actually, much more kind of reflective occasion than what we think of it.
He makes you feel smarter.
Does he?
I mean, I feel a lot dumber than him, but I feel smarter than I was when I came here.
I just feel older. That's why the
you're
countdown I'm worried
older.
about is not the Hitchcock one. It's this. I'm just trying to stay, young guy, freaked out.
It's working, buddy.
Keep up the vitamins.
All right, we're going to post this segment following the show at firstalertford.com/mystl live.